This week, AMD gets dragged into some legal stuff. EVGA and Kingpin set some new records with a GTX 980 Ti. 4 new Broadwell-e chips get detailed and more. I'm David Wolf with TechPowerUp News. Apparently, AMD recently received a cease and desist order from Asetek, a major water cooling components company. The thought is that AMD's flagship Radeon R9 Fury X's equipped closed-loop cooler, manufactured by Cooler Master, is infringing upon these patents, as they were derived from Cooler Master's Sidon 120. The Sidon 120 has recently been red flagged by U.S. courts during a recent lawsuit against Cooler Master by Asetek. Courts ordered Cooler Master to give Asetek 14.5% of royalties on sales of products that infringe on these patents. AMD's response to the cease and desist was swift, the company citing the jury's conclusion in the case against Cooler Master that the R9 Fury X's cooler was not infringing on any patents. AMD clearly has no intention of discontinuing sales of their flagship GPU, and they really shouldn't, considering the previous case mentioned. EVGA and Vince Lucido, also known under the pseudonym Kingpin, have set 3 new 3D Mark world records, running a naturally very EVGA-heavy system, an EVGA GeForce GTX 980 Ti Kingpin Edition GPU, an EVGA X99 Micro 2 motherboard, and an EVGA power supply. Vince pushed the 980 Ti's core to an astonishing clock speed, reaching over 2200 MHz on liquid nitrogen. Mind you, the card's base clock is 1202 MHz, so that's a 1 GHz overclock. That's nearly double the clock speed. That's crazy! Using this setup, Kingpin set new records in 3D Mark Fire Strike with a single card, Fire Strike Extreme with a single card, and Fire Strike Ultimate with a single card. While this doesn't really mean anything for the average user, it's kind of fun seeing what crazy numbers you can get with corporate backing and the T1000's weakness. Continuing on with more cool stuff from EVGA, the company just announced their new GeForce GTX 970 hybrid graphics card, cooled by an all-in-one water cooler that keeps the GPU nice and chilly, running the coolant through a 120mm radiator. The best part is the ease of use. You have very little setup to do. The only extra bit should just be mounting the radiator on your case and overclocking away. As a side note, EVGA won't likely be getting sued by Asetek, considering they kind of designed this cooler for the card. They didn't steal it. AMD's GPUs will be getting a major tech update next year in 2016, with a bunch of additions aimed at display tech. Their adaptive sync technology FreeSync will be updated to work over HDMI, adding a second option for ports compatible with the technology on top of DisplayPort 1.2a. Naturally, the display on the other end of the cable needs to be compatible with FreeSync over HDMI. AMD also hopes to bring FreeSync to notebooks and convertible devices. Second, AMD is rolling out support for high dynamic range displays on next-gen Radeon cards. The company claims that 1080p content using HDR will look superior to 4K content in standard dynamic range. Also, AMD is pushing HDR to game developers, and no, not high dynamic range lighting. And one final thing AMD is looking to add is DisplayPort 1.3 HBR3, a connection capable of raw bandwidth up to 32.4 GB per second, enabling 5K SDR support at 60 Hz using just a single cable, as well as 120 Hz 4K SDR, 60 HDR, and so on. Simplifying it like crazy, lots more frames and better colors. For years now, Intel has kept a habit of releasing 3 Core i7 high-end desktop processors for each generation at $400, $600, and $1,000 price points. This time, however, Intel is breaking the tradition for a set of 4 14nm chips based on Broadwell-e, the i7 6800K, 6850K, 6900K, and 6950X, the 3.4 GHz 6800K, and 3.6 GHz 6850K, both being 6-core chips with hyper-threading and 15 MB of shared L3 cache. The 6900K is a 3.2 GHz 8-core chip, also with hyper-threading, with 20 MB of L3 cache. And the 6950X is the cool one, the world's first 10-core chip aimed at consumers, which has a total of 20 threads and 25 MB of L3 cache, with the cores running at 3 GHz. All 4 chips are 140-watt TDP chips, which probably explains the slightly lower clock on the friggin' 10-core, with unlocked multipliers, and will be compatible with existing socket LGA 2011 version 3 motherboards. That's all the news I have for this week, but there's more every week, so stick around. Also, make sure to check out our website, and you'll find lots of great articles on stuff I talked about today and other stuff. like AMD socket AM4 to transition excavator and Zen architecture, EVGA announces the 700B power supply, Asus introduces Maximus 8 Hero Alpha, featuring native RGB LED headers, and more. I understand with just a few minutes of news you won't get all the info you need, or you might have a question. Why don't you head on over to our forums and ask us that question? There's plenty of helpful people around to help you out. Like this guy. Did you watch this video and think, hey, I wanted game news? Have I got the channel for you? Check out our sister channel, TechPowerUp. They've got awesome game reviews and weekly gaming news. Clicky, clicky. He says bye-bye. Bye-bye.